Oh, and we went live without an intro. Sorry, guys.
Hey man, you know what? Because we're that excited. We are that excited to be here. We don't
I'm
even
half
do the
asleep.
the intro.
I'm
Who needs it?
half
You know what?
asleep.
Who needs an intro? Really?
I am half asleep. I'm so tired. It's not even funny. Um,
That's okay.
and
We can be. We can
I'm
say
thinking
it.
the
Say it
daylight savings
spooky,
time.
right? Say it spooky. Let's talk about it. There, we're done.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, hey Tara, how are you? Good to see you. This is really not a complete show without this. Just kidding. Um, Look, I'm entitled to screw up at least once every 3 years, so leave me alone about it, guys.
You know what? It's not a screw up if you pretend that you meant to do it.
Oh gosh, how's it going, Tara?
You
How are
know
you?
what? I'm about as good as you are, buddy. I'm about as good as you are, really. As you can
Hey,
see, I'm not home. I'm not home right now. I'm out of town, and so I'm doing the show on the road. So that's pretty exciting.
yeah,
I'm actually at my family home for the next week. They are in the midst of lambing, so I'm a farmer for a week. So that's kind of cool. So we're doing all of that stuff. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So
Are they gonna send me some lamb chops or
maybe,
send me a rack
maybe
of
we're
lamb?
lucky,
That'd be great.
right?
Kathleen.
Yeah. But other than that, how was your week? You have been incredibly busy. I had the boring week. I worked, I did my cleansings. I did the normal 9 to next day. I can't even say 9 to 5 because it's never 9 to 5. But what about you? Tell me, how was it? You had the event that
Right.
happened.
Yeah.
Let's
We
hear
had
all
the
about
event
it.
last night. Great crowd of people that showed up. Phenomenal folks. Couple of viewers showed up to come to the event, and I thank you all for that. Octagon Hall did not fail. It represented itself as being a very active location. We do have the next one coming up, the last ride at the Walking Horse Hotel
Wow.
in Ward Trace, Tennessee. That was another location that was in our documentary. We tried a couple of things that kind of got a little out of hand, but you got to try stuff in this business, so you'll never know.
Yeah. How can you? How are you? How can you ever, have an investigation without having an experiment? You have to. You absolutely have to.
Carmen is one of our team members, and she's like, "Haven't I seen you before?" Yeah, yeah. Actually, at about 12:30 this afternoon, too, is the last time I saw you. Hey, Adam, how's it going? Um,
Carmen, Joanne, Adam, Lori, how's it going? As you can see, I'm not home. I'm looking
I
down.
don't
I've
see
got the
Lori
comments here,
anymore.
so I'm looking down at the same time. You know everybody that we simulcast, so comments are going to be a little more difficult for me. But Richard's got all the comments. He
I
knows
don't
what's
have
going
Lori's
down.
comment, and I should. You know why? That's my wife. Oh, you're not on there? Oh, she's not on there. I'm getting that from the living room. That wasn't a disembodied voice. I'm getting that from the living room. She's not on the show.
I'm really glad that I'm on the ball here.
Are you okay?
No, are,
You're
are
right.
you okay? Lori
I'm good.
Perry.
I'm
Lori
okay.
Perry says hello.
Who?
Lori Perry. Lori,
Oh,
she says
that
hi.
Lori. I thought you were talking about my wife. I'm like, wait a minute.
You need to
Hello,
get some
Lori.
sleep,
How's it
Richard.
going? Y'all
Can
just need to
everybody
beat
can
me up.
everybody put in the comments? Richard needs more sleep. Let's talk
Richard
about
just
so
needs sleep.
okay, so let's get into the event you went on. You know, in the green room we were talking
Okay.
about how you had a great event. Everybody seems happy. You got some great evidence, but you
Nutty.
maybe fill them in about the hotel. You were
Oh, the
slept on
hotel.
a what?
Yeah, they leave the light on for you. Yeah, no, the hotel was grand in its style. The bed again was a torture device, to conjure down with the nails in it. That was the bed, and it has three pillows. Three pillows. Is it like maybe they can't afford four? You know, like you're paying a good rate, so hey, we're not going to give you a fourth pillow. We're just gonna. Of course, the wife was comfy. with the head at least. Anyway, the rest of it racked our bodies out like a torture device. But yeah, how do you give out 3 pillows and think that that is the math doesn't line up there?
I don't know.
Yeah, 3 pillows. So we had a good time with that. I remember myself laying flat like I was on a gurney. That was great. And then at 7, we got to bed probably about 12:30, 1 o'clock. Sleep rather, tried to anyway. 7:30. All of us are hearing these rambling, screaming children that are just leaving the hotel at 7 something in the morning, and they can't shut up. I'm ready to open the damn door and throw out a roll of duct tape from a little baby. Anyway, I'm just saying, it was not a good experience. And then yeah, so then we got up and left. A good experience was the lunch in the company. Other than that, ooh,
So that, ladies and gentlemen, is why you didn't get an intro. Let's be honest.
You're lucky I'm here. Okay, be lucky I'm here. My brain is shut off a while ago. I'm operating on batteries right about now.
Duly noted, sir. Duly noted.
The hamster died. He's dead. The hamster in the wheel, he's done dead. Yeah, my body just said you may sound incoherent at some point or points. Just saying.
Yeah. So what are we talking about tonight, Sir Richard?
Stephanie. Tonight's everything paranormal. So, guys, if there's a subject matter in the paranormal, I don't know why I have to qualify that, but if there's a subject matter in the paranormal that you've been dying to bring up and talk about, let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's bring it in. The do's and don'ts of hotel stays during paranormal investigation.
Yes, the glory and the glamour of the paranormal life. Guys, in case we didn't get a chance to mention it, we love having you here. But if you do not comment or at least tell me to kiss your butt, we don't know you're here. We have no clue. So we'd love to know. Bring a pillow. Look, Joanna, look, you ain't seen the car. Okay. There was 4 of us, 4 grown adults, like 8,200 cases of equipment. Come on. I got an IR camera set up. I've got a cleansing kit in the car. We've got a cooler in the car, overnight bags packed, and that's just ours. And then you've got 2 other adults that are coming in with their stuff. And we've got a small car. We've got a Mitsubishi Mirage. I laughingly call it a pregnant roller skate. But it's good on gas, and that's all that really matters. It's good on gas. And it's real good on gas. Thank God. 43 miles to the gallon. So that's what we take on the adventures.
Wow. That's cool. So, guys, as you can tell, for those of you just joining, I am on the road. I'm not home. So I've got your comments. I'm looking down. I got some different phones that I'm looking on for comments. If there's something specific you would like to specifically ask me, please put Katie, the word Katie in the comments, tag me in it. And that way I know I'm supposed to get that question. But Richard will hopefully be able to catch that. Of course you will. Of course you will.
Oh. Okay. Yeah. So anything we've not ever talked about, I think we've covered just about every flicking base there is in the paranormal world. Yes. I think we beat it to death almost like a dead horse. No pun intended. Sorry.
That's not something. You know what? I think one really good. I think one thing that we should talk about. We've talked about it before, but I think we should get into a little bit more detail. Is normal places that you can go to investigate. A lot of times people think that they have to be this major haunted location, or there has to be a lot of history there for it to be haunted, to be worthy of investigation. Or say you're just wanting to start out, you're really thinking that this is something that you want to do, you're wanting to dabble a little bit, but before you purchase a lot of equipment, there's some things that you can do, and there's some experiments that you can do that you can do in a safe manner and in an inexpensive manner. So, Richard and I have touched base on different local locations that you can go to. There's cemeteries and graveyards in every city and town. okay, or of one close. So that's someplace. Now, there's not always the stereotype that, every cemetery is going to be, epically haunted, but there is activity that does come through. There's, as long as you follow the legalities, as long as you follow the rules and
No.
respect the space, of course you can go in. You do not have to investigate at night. You can go during the day. And there's other local locations that you can go, and you would be surprised to find some really good activity. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you on it. I mean, half the time we find the places that we find just by looking around.
Absolutely.
I'm really big. Our team is actually. We all are in agreement on it. We're really big on the road less traveled. So, oh, have you ever been to Waverly? Nope. Won't waste the money. I've got
No.
locations here in the South that'll rival that square foot by square foot, and they're free or cheap. Octagon Hall is one of them. The challenge I have is, guys, and the reason why I agree with completely with Katie on that order is because, I'm in an area where they've got hospitals that are renting out for $850. We've got all over the place. We've got jails that are renting out for $1,500 for a whole day. I mean, you work really hard for the money, and I'm a cheap bastard. I am cheap. I will find cheap or free all day long because guess what? They're just as haunted and active as any other location for less or no money. Especially here in the South because we have so much stuff that's impacted by the Civil War and slavery. So we have a lot of energy buildings around here that are full of stuff that are open to the public. You can go to Kingston, Tennessee, for example, in Southwest Point Park. The buildings they have there that are built as cabins that have been rebuilt back to spec from 1797. Free. Walk in, investigate it. They're haunted as hell. Walk in and investigate. No charge. Doors are usually open 24/7 because they don't want anybody to vandalize to get in. Walk around, investigate, bring a digital recorder, bring a camera, bring something. I'm telling you, good times. But there is absolutely no reason, I think, and I'll get off my soapbox in a second, I promise. There's absolutely no reason, I think, that you should have to drop a wad of cash to be able to go somewhere that has no power, no plumbing, and they charge you massive money to be there. That's just a money game. And I don't like giving my money to a place like that anyway. I really don't. I'd rather like this one where I know they use the money to keep the building restored.
Yeah, agreed.
Octagon Hall, for example, they only charge $300 for a team of 7 people to come in for 8 hours. That's cheap. US, that's cheap. Comparatively. And that place is bona fide active as all get out. But again, there are places out there. Major Graham's Mansion. And I don't mind calling people out. It's liable to get me in trouble, but I don't really care. I don't care. I'm tired and don't care. So, Major Graham's Mansion, $1,000 to come on the property. Are you kidding me? That's kind of why we have worked with a lot of the small historical societies because we know the money is going back to help the program, help the buildings. So don't be attracted by the allure of, oh, it's been on this show and oh, it's been on that show. And so what? So what? I've been in locations, and I'm sure Katie has. I've been on locations that have been more active than most places, been told so by investigators that come to me later go, man, that place wasn't anywhere near as active as the place I went to that you told me about. Don't go with that. It's never a guarantee it's going to be how it is on TV because, not that we ever on TV ever fake stuff, but
Yeah,
there's a lot of tea going on about that right now. We're going to let that go.
I know. I heard. I keep away from that.
Yeah,
I keep away from that. Yeah, yeah. I have no recollection of the events in question. I think, guys, we have so many people. I don't know about you, Richard, but I get so many people who are asking, I'm thinking about getting into investigating. I think I want to dabble in it. What are the do's and don'ts? What are the things that I should start out with? Yes, Slave Cemetery, good one, Al. Yeah, for sure. Um, and there's no book, there's no one-on-one book on specifically how you should or shouldn't, be investigating. But there are do's and don'ts. As far as I'm concerned, there are, things that I would not do during an investigation. Provocation is one of them. So there's things that you can experiment with. Another thing is I really encourage everybody, please do not, the worst thing to me you can say as an investigator is there anybody that wants to speak to me? Anybody out there? Because you're literally inviting it in.
Anybody.
Yeah. You're inviting them, which is not a good thing. It's right. It's not a good thing. You want, to have a dialogue and a direction. And I encourage people that when you're doing this, when you're deciding to do the investigation, do a little homework before. I have a historian on my team. April, she has no problems digging into the past. And
right.
Me being the psychic going into the investigation, I don't want to know anything. So I try to get the least information possible. But even if it's after an investigation, April's not afraid to get her hands dirty and start researching and figuring out what's going on, to find out what's validating and not, and to know who you're talking to. It's like a job interview. If you walk in and don't understand the content and don't understand who you're wanting to work for and how the job, it entails, what is your duties and due diligence, how can you expect to have a good job interview? And I view paranormal investigation as the same thing. It's very important to be prepared, to have your homework set up, to have your, everything scheduled and kind of a contingency plan of how you're going to go about doing these things, and then conduct it. And that's when you start to conduct that business and you go ahead and start trying to find the evidence. But the investigation doesn't begin as soon as, you get to the home. Sometimes it begins, far before and after the physical investigation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. There's a ton of doing those. So one thing I'll just pop off, and I want to talk about Alfred's. I think it's a question here. Permission, guys. Permission. There's a lot of places in a lot of states out here where if you get caught in a cemetery, for example, without permission from a family member, if it's a family plot, you're going to be arrested. Chickamauga Battlefield, big, active, haunted location, huge battlefield. Go in there at night without permission, you're going to get arrested.
Yeah.
So permission's big, and it's a pain. I know. Nobody should care. It's late at night. There's nobody living in the place you're in. But you've got a lot of people in there that are vandals. They're idiots. They're vandals. Like to get, the bigger ones that challenge me and my thought about humanity's intelligence are the ones that take things with them from the locations. Don't do that. Let's not do that. Yeah. I have never heard a good thing ever come of a person who brought something home from an investigation. Never. Right. Now, Alfred, slave cemeteries are huge in the South. We have a lot of them. Octagon Hall has one in particular that's active, and but there are a lot around here. A lot of times, unfortunately, the slave cemeteries, and I've had several conversations with people that live in rural areas, and since I was going back so far ago, for example, that trying to find the cemeteries, because they're not very well kept, they're not groomed, they're overgrown. You've got to kind of dig a little deep, and as Katie said in the research, you got to dig a little deeper to find out where they were laid out. And then, they're pretty good places to go.
Another thing too about cemeteries is, I think that we are so stuck on the three-dimensional figuration of investigating. We're so stuck on the physical building, physical floor, physical room, physical location, where we think, okay, this is where something happened and this is where we're going to get the best results, because that's a logical, thought pattern. Going to a cemetery and a lot of the graves that you are assuming are haunted may perhaps not be. There's not every grave has a stone, and you walk that a little bit further. Many cemeteries didn't ever have graves markers, so don't just stick to where you see the prettiest or the most drawn grave marker or gravestone. don't be afraid to venture out a little bit and go where there's some open grass and go where the grass is growing, because you may be able to find something. Now, I'm a firm believer that the energy doesn't specifically stay at that gravestone, but the closer you get to it, the better. I often talk about a story that, a few years ago, I was doing a kind of a cold case investigation with a detective, and we were kind of retracing the steps I was taking into certain places, because that's where the individual who had passed had told me to go, and that the different clues, we followed the breadcrumbs and the clues throughout the investigation. And one of the days it took us to a cemetery, and we were trying to get some EVPs from the person at the cemetery. And lo and behold, I'm standing there, and a little girl pops up, spirit of a little girl, and she said, "Mom, are you my mom?" And I had to explain to her, no. And she was stuck to her grave. She was kind of tethered to her body, and so she had been stuck at that gravestone, waiting for her mom to come and get her. So it does happen, but it's not necessarily, every single gravestone that you're encompassing, you're seeing, is going to be haunted, right?
All right. No, you're right. I mean, sometimes back in the day, they were just rocks that people just rolled over onto the gravesite. They weren't even stones that were carved out, or they were just rocks. They were boulders, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
Stephanie said, does the walking horse have a bathroom? It's going to have a porta potty, just to let you know. Just want to cover that. Joanne said, is Waverly far from you, Richard? About 5 hours to Waverly. Yeah, about 5 hours away. Most of the stuff where I'm living now is pretty centrally located. And right, Alfred, it's called entertainment, and that's really what its value is. Okay, so Ron Parrish said the worst thing he hears is, "Can I help you cross over?" During an investigation, that's not something he likes to hear.
I'm curious as to why. I guess it would be more of permission of the entity. I know that there's been certain scenarios. For example, I'll go back to that little girl that I talk about. I explained to her that her mama's on the other side. I explained to her that she's passed now. I explained to her that, if you go through the door, you'll be able to see your mama. It's your choice whether you want to come or go. I'm not ignorant to assume that, because I tell them to go, they're going to go, but at least I open their consciousness on the spiritual form so that they can see that door. And if they choose to take it, they take it. But I don't cross every entity I come across. That's not what I do. If it's requested, or once the entity realizes that they're stuck here and they're, essentially a ghost, they're not a spirit. And I bring it to their consciousness, then they're wanting to go. They're like, yes, please help me.
Yep. Alfred said, go into the woods and investigate. You'll be blown away. You absolutely will. Yep. Again, especially here in the South, there was a ton of land that was Cherokee run, and there's a lot of energy here. All right, here's one that Ron brings up I think is interesting too. It says, next, don't offer one's energy unless you know the spirit. The invitation can have negative results. Absolutely agree. When I hear someone say, just take my energy, I cringe. Because that could lead down the road of negative stuff. That can really just take you down the road, and also will make you a victim of a contact point. I believe if you open yourself up to have your energy absorbed, then it's going to happen.
Yeah, for sure.
Happen. I don't agree with it. What do you feel about that?
I think that I think you have to be careful with your words. I think it's really important. You got to be respectful. You have to be careful. Assuming all of that stuff is not good. I think, again, you got to know what you're walking into. If you're walking into a location that's known to be malevolent, then, opening yourself up like that is not a good thing. But, where things are more benign, I think that it's okay to kind of open yourself up a little bit in that regard to try and get, obviously more evidence, but also to try to help. Depending on the investigation and what you're doing, it kind of changes things. I still enjoy getting really good evidence. That's something I enjoy doing. But 9 times out of 10, my team goes in there to help people. So it's not like we're looking for a good time or good evidence. We're looking to kind of end the situation. And if that means cleansing the property, if that means, trying to clear spirits or the energy of the location, then that's what we're kind of there to do.
Yeah. In ride on the ride back home tonight, for example, I was talking with Lori and I said, next time we go back to Octagon Hall, because it's a place that makes you want to come back, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've had contact with children, with ladies, with men. I want to bring a plant.
Plant.
Sounds weird, but I just want to bring a plant because back in the day when I was young, back before they had electricity and black and white TVs, you would come to a person's house with a gift.
Right.
And I think a lot of the times we forget the simple things when we go on an investigation, which will gain you the most activity and evidence. I think we forget it. I think we go in with this list of pre-authorized cookie cutter stuff, and we go in and we just hammer them. Maybe like other people have hammered them. What makes you different? Find relevance when you investigate. Seek relevance. If you're in a building that somebody built by themselves for their family, tell them, hey, your house is beautiful. I've gotten some incredible results from Spirit just by doing things like complimenting a house. Telling them that you appreciate the fact that you're in their beautiful home, or you're in their beautiful building. If you guys want to get a list of questions together, that's one. Number two, I would also say things like, what would you like to tell us that will help us live a better living life? I've had serious problems with that.
That's a great EVP question.
When we asked that at the Hamilton House, I said, is there anything you could tell us to be able to help us live a better living life? The response, Class A, was just live it. That's cool. I don't care who you are. But try to, again, before you go to a location, if you know anything about the history, which we hope you would, your questions can pertain to the history. Your questions could pertain to the family that live there or the people that work there. Try to keep them relevant. That's really important. I'm the audio guy. I know I'm the audio guy, and that's cool. But to me, you can see a shadow maybe on camera, but to have a person who's almost 200 years old talk to you, that's cool. So just look for that kind of stuff too in your investigations. I'm trying to see if we got any.
I always think too, it's really important to introduce yourself. When we go into a location, I try to make a habit of saying it out loud. My name is Katie. I'm here to document you. I'm not here to harm you. This equipment that we're using is simply, to try and communicate with you. Please do not be offended. We're not trying to hurt you. We're not trying to scare you. We're not obligating you to talk to us, but we would really appreciate it if you would communicate with us. And I explain a bit of the equipment, and I try to be as respectful as possible. But I also set boundaries, and I also say, you're not welcome to come home with us. You're not welcome to, kind of the due diligence of what we're going to be doing and what we expect of them. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. We've had certain scenarios where entities didn't understand the the equipment, and so they're frightened. They don't know what a flashlight is. They don't know. If we say, here, walk over and touch this device, what's a device?
Yeah.
I try to explain what it is.
The ones that kill me when I'm watching the shows. Go over there and touch my EMF meter. Is that legal? Okay.
It's kind of private, is it?
Okay. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. I mean, again, relevance. They don't know. You can go over and go to touch that green light. That'll work. I have a periscope, and I ask them to go ahead and go near it, and the periscope lights up with different tubes of light. That works. The bells and whistles. I tell you, the one thing I found the most flippin' fun with that's like $15 for 3 of them. It's friggin' cat balls.
Yeah.
Those things are super cool. We used one last night we used one last night at Octagon Hall. We had a young lady there, by the name of Mary Elizabeth, who is a resident there. and she was asked by Lori to come down and touch the lights. She played with that thing on and off like crazy. You've got to physically touch them. It's not like it'll go off, with a static filtration or anything. You've got to physically touch them. That's why cats enjoy them, because cats go bonkers when they hit them with a paw and they light up and they go crazy and they go all over the place. And that's the same thing with spirit. Um, but yeah, I mean, and Alfred made a point. He said, never show up empty-handed. You're right. I don't think we should.
Yeah.
The thing is, you do need to be careful. For example, there's like Stephanie's going to bring a baby doll. I hope you don't plan on leaving the baby doll, because that, um, what you think is a child upstairs on the third floor is not a child. Nope, 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 nope. So I would be mindful bringing and leaving something like that, or asking it to interact with it. It may or may not have great consequences. Just saying. I've been in that building 6 times, and that's going to be a busy location. Busy. It's got doppelgangers, disembodied voices, apparitions, elementals, shadow people.
Right.
It's crazy. But and a low level demon. Yeah. Yeah, he's able to be commanded to a point. He's going to have somebody that can actually be stern, not afraid. A lot of times I feel that demonic entities like to prey on those they can make fear. And I throw on a New York accent and scream at it, and I literally have had it back off. I actually have a recorded apology from that one time. So
Wow.
Who knew, right? Who knew? They don't like New Yorkers. All right, well.
I think too, ladies and gentlemen, that it's really good not only to do your research when you're going into these locations, and it's important, if you're going to cleanse the location, if you're going to cleanse yourself.
Mario.
But one thing that we don't think about is cleansing our equipment. Richard made a great point of talking about, that doll as an experiment, or bringing experimental items in to try and draw it in as a trigger object. It's important to cleanse that stuff too. If you think for 1 minute that it's only going to stick to the doll that you brought in, and it's not going to try and stick to the energy of the equipment you're using, you got another thing coming. It's really important to kind of, do your due diligence and cleanse all that stuff too. And I mean, down to your cell phones, it's important. Cleanse everything. You're not going to hurt it by trying to cleanse it, but by walking away from it and thinking, well, I cleansed the trigger object, but I didn't cleanse this. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. You got to be mindful of everything you touch. It's kind of like pretend you have ink on your fingers. Whatever you touch may need to be cleansed.
Right. Yeah,
that's important. And as far as leaving anything, go ahead.
I was going to say, we've even gone as far as, going to churches after an investigation, not even gone home. We've actually gone to sanctioned, land. We've gone to a church. We've gone to, a churchyard that's been deemed holy, and we have gotten out of the car, walked around, spent 15, 20 minutes. We've cleansed at that moment. We've done all those things just to make sure that when we go home, it's less inclined to want to follow us.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, too, we've talked about this probably a million times on the show as well. You get a chance to run by running water. The high vibration is a repellent to low vibration. So, if you feel you might have something, traipsing along with you on the way home, or if you just want to reset yourself, find a moving body of water, take your socks and shoes off, stand on that ground, close your eyes and breathe in deep and stay there. Give it a
unless
good
you're in Canada now, I would advise you to wait until summer.
Yeah, I would do that too. But it's kind of funny. I've had a lot of people that they come to me and go, well, I want to be a paranormal investigator. Yeah. Okay. What do you recommend? What equipment do you recommend? I recommend that you go out and at least do a tour of the professional group, see how it's done.
Yeah.
That's what I
try,
recommend.
try and get a hang of it. Don't necessarily pay attention to the television aspects of things, but also too, guys, it's really important, if you have a paranormal investigator or somebody that you've watched on TV that you're a fan of, you know, don't be afraid to reach out. Don't be afraid to, I know there's a lot of celebrities out there and they're very, sometimes they don't get back to you as quickly as you'd like, but don't be afraid to kind of get into that world in the sense of, find some people that are reputable to start and ask some questions. Because I think when it's behind the television screen, a lot of people, first ask me, the TV that I've done, like, was it real? Was it scripted? Did they use fake evidence? Did they, first of all, I am never going to sell myself out. I'm not interested in being famous for that. I would rather be respected in what I do than to be seen on television and say that that's the lady that faked things or whatever. So any television show that I've ever been a part of has been 100% factual. I would not settle for anything less. But it's important, kind of seek out what you're seeing, making sure that it is, you are, do more research than just watch what you're seeing on TV. Okay. Try to find a local team that's reputable that you can get it and do stuff, or like-minded individuals that you all want to learn together. If you're going to take people who are going to be with you, you don't want them to be liabilities. And I encourage you, don't investigate by yourself. There's people out there, but I'm not afraid. You may not be afraid. It's not about fear. It's about safety measures. Okay. If you're walking in the middle of the dark and you come across an open manhole by accident and you fall in, how are you going to get the help that you need? So it's really important that it's due to injury, physical liability that can be causing issues.
Yeah. And it's really just a matter of, again, like she said, go with somebody. I again would recommend, if you have the ability and the ability to network with somebody who's got a team now, try to see if you can hook up with them for an investigation. Try to get somebody that has got experience in the field, in case things come up.
Yep.
You might have an answer guide there.
Yep. And make your own boundaries. Try not to investigate in your own home. Really, really think about it. I would exit your home. I had a phone call actually a couple days ago from a lady, and she said to me, "So do you do readings out of your home?" And I said, "Well, yes and no." And she said, "Okay." I said, "The readings that I do virtually, yes, I do them out of my home office, but I don't allow people into my house." And she was really kind of perplexed. She said, "Why?" And I said, "Well, because having people come in and out all the time with their energy is a lot different than meeting them via camera. And there's a little bit more of a blockage that I can do, via camera." I said, and I have to have boundaries. I have children. I have, animals. I have to have boundary. It's really important that I stick with that boundary, because when you start to get lackadaisical on that stuff, that's what the malevolent energy starts to feed off of. It sees the weakness. So I have to be a stickler, stick up to my, my parameters and say, no, I'm sorry, I can't. It's just not feasible. And that goes for investigations too. Opening up equipment and starting investigations in your own home to experiment can actually open portals and cause more problems. So I encourage you, if this is something you guys want to start out and do or experiment with, go to a local cemetery, go to a local forest, go to a local, something that's available to the public, and experiment there. Don't go home.
Right. I have 3 rules when I do like even a clip. 3 rules. Number 1, I tell the homeowners, don't investigate in your own home. Number 1. Number 2, don't use a Ouija board. Okay. Number 3, don't ask questions that are open-ended. Okay. A monologue is okay. I've had several cases where people are like, I don't know how to handle it, and tell it to leave me alone. Tell it. Don't ask it. Tell it. I don't want to hear from you. I don't want to see you. Leave me alone. Sometimes that works. May not be for a long period of time, maybe a day or 2 or 3 or a week, but it does work.
Yeah, absolutely. Nikki says, she said in a comment, "Katie, where's all of your stuff? Have you been robbed?" Nikki, I am. I'm actually not at home. I'm on the road right now, so that's why I'm doing it on the road. The show on the road.
Okay.
That's why I'm not in. You don't see all the fancy stuff behind me. So, yeah.
And Herbie, we thank you for this wonderful compliment. He said, honestly, I want to be an investigator. That's why I'm here. You both are great teachers, and I'm glad to learn from you and others. Thank you.
Oh, thank
And if
you.
you ever need questions answered about what to do and where to go and when to start, give
Yeah,
me a yell.
absolutely.
Let me see. Okay, Tammy said, well, here's a question. What if you think there is something in your home? I get no bad vibes from it. It's nothing scary, but I do get the goosebumps sometimes. And it's in an upstairs bedroom, so I do hear movement up there when I'm downstairs. That doesn't mean it's not a spirit. A spirit is not always going to make you afraid. It's not going to, the energy is what does everything, right? The energy is what makes you feel like you need to run, or it's okay, or you feel sad. But it's the energy that's given out by the spirit. So I'm not going to doubt you have spirit activity. What I'm going to doubt is its intention, because negative intention is pretty obvious and doesn't feel good. So if you're not getting negative attention like that, congratulations, good for you. I'm glad. And honestly, soul tie spirits, I don't believe you have a way to get rid of anyway. You're stuck with them in life and in death. And unfortunately, it means that when they're a jerk in death. Yep, you're stuck with them. But at least you'll know who that is. But yeah, that doesn't mean it's not a spirit. It just means that they
Yeah.
probably aren't malevolent. What do you think
And
about that, Katie?
yeah, yeah. If you're thinking of, okay, so see, let's break that down a little bit. So you think you have an entity in your house, and you don't have a local team that can come in, or a psychic medium that can come in and kind of figure out and deem what this thing is. There's a few things that you should look out for. One, is it causing any physical harm? Is it causing any mental harm? Are there any changes in the location between you, your family, your friends, your roommate, your animals, like your pets? Are there things changing? Have you noticed? Is there electrical interferences? Is there breakdowns of, your washing machine's not working, or a lot of electrical stuff? Are you starting to experience financial difficulties? Are you starting to experience, where people are fighting? There's hostility in the environment. Those are some key indications that you're dealing with something kind of a low vibration. So if you want to determine that, and again, you can't get somebody to come in, then if I was in your position, I would open up that dialogue and say, look, I know you're here. I know there's somebody here. I know they're here. And, these are my perimeters. You're not welcome to bother me at night. You're not welcome to do these things. I know that you're affecting my children. I'm asking you respectfully
Hey,
to please
Thomas.
stop. Or I ask respectfully, if you want to show yourself, then do it in a respectful manner.
Right.
Leave me something, leave me a dime. Don't be afraid to be specific. I'm gonna, and you can call it down to, if you think it's a specific spirit in the house. Say Lady Jessica died 70 years ago, and they think it's Lady Jessica. Then say the name. A lot of times when we talk on the phone, okay, I'm calling Richard. When I'm calling Richard, I've got Richard's phone number on my phone. I have an idea that I'm going to be contacting him. I'm not dialing a specific number or any number and saying, "Hey, who is this? Let's hope it's Richard." There's a direction that I'm going to kind of get a hold of him, and the same idea has to happen, right? So think of the old days. Now everybody has cell phones, but in the old days, and I say old days, you'd call a house number, and any member of the family would pick up. Okay, but you still dialed it down to that specific house number. So you knew what you were dealing with. One of those people were going to be answering the phone. That's what you have to get in the perimeter of your mind. You have to think of that you're going to be answering. So, if it's the homeowner, if it's the person that died 60 years ago, if it's even that thought pattern is narrowing it down, that who wants to speak to me? Does anybody want to speak to me? That's opening it up so that anybody can come through. Any weaknesses in the veil, any portals that are open, you've just invited it in subconsciously or consciously.
Right. Exactly. But again, it's important that you understand that it needs to be a monologue, not a dialogue is at times being an open-ended question and answer period. No,
Mm-hmm.
monologue. State your case without looking for an answer
Right.
and move forward. And if you do that repeatedly, Don't come near me. Leave me alone. I don't want to hear you. I don't want to hear you. After a while, they kind of get the hint, and some will move on
Right.
eventually. Now, Mario says learning our own sensitivities can help us understand the importance of knowing how to protect ourselves on a spiritual level, not to solely rely on sage and crystals, etc. Agreed. I don't know how many times I've heard people, ask me to confirm for them what their abilities are and all of that stuff, and I'll tell them what I believe they got going on. And the first thing out of their mouth is, "I just want to help so many people." No, 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 you don't. No, you don't. Spend time learning how to protect yourself first. And as far as the sage and the crystals, to me, they are just armament in the belt. Yeah, I got a Batman belt on, and I've got sage, and I've got crystals, and Palo Santo, and salt water, and yeah, I've got it all. That just aids into what I think we do best for other people, and that's helping them get straight. But I don't rely on them. Absolutely, no. You got to be able to learn how to protect yourself, protect everything that's going on around you. White light, everything. That's the way I look at it. White light, everything. Why not? What do you got to lose? Let me see here. So, yeah, and Jamie says that my cat spends a lot of time up there. Just because you have a spirit, again, it doesn't mean that it'll frighten everything. Animals react a lot of the time the way they do to spirit activity because they don't understand it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know what it is. They don't get it. And the vibrations that they feel and the things that they are able to put together in their minds of what might be, sometimes it's scary, sometimes isn't. I had a house that had a lot of activity in the bedroom on the third floor. Cats love to go in there and sleep. They just did. So, that's not necessarily a bad thing. But yeah, I mean, Mario, you're right. That's kind of what we look at. As those are just tools for the belt, as it were. Tammy says, "I know you told us not to investigate and run a home, so I let it be." Yeah, let it be. I mean, until it begins to be a problem. What I think people don't understand and the takeaway of paranormal activity is you're most likely never going to be alone.
Right.
That's the reality of it, right?
Yep.
You're you're gonna have some lingering activity or some new activity or something that comes into the picture that you're gonna have to deal with. And if you have any abilities, God bless you, that'll never stop. So, you're always gonna have something. Always. Let me see if I can find us another good. Nikki says, "I kind of feel my home is my safe place, filling it with natural energies and protection. I wouldn't like anything to try to violate that. It takes a bit, but for me, that helps." Okay. And that's kind of a thing, not saying mind over matter, right? But what I will say is conviction means a lot in the paranormal world. Any conviction into whatever you're doing means a lot. And if you don't have it, it's not going to really help you a whole lot at all. So that's the challenge.
Yeah. And it's knowing what your environment is. If you were part of Aboriginal Indigenous land, whipping holy water out and doing a holy blessing is not going to be as effective as perhaps sage or Palo Santo or some sort of Aboriginal sacred ritual, right? So it's really walking into what you know. And as Richard had pointed out, having a multitude of things, it's the same thing. I have the same thing. I have many, many, many different types of cleansing techniques and ways to protect myself for that very reason. Not only do I have Christian holy water, but I have pagan holy water. I have moon water, and I have, there's, not only do I use crystals, but I also use different types of sage. And I don't even, in my heart, in my go-to bag, I don't even just use sage for cleansing. I have mugwort, I have cinnamon, I have cedar, I have lavender. There's many different things that I use that I will make a tincture or concoction of to help in that cleansing principle, because it's throwing everything at it rather than just one thing.
Yep. The more ammo you have in your holster, the better. That's the way I look at it. Alfred said, I got started in this business for one reason and one reason. I'll do it to help people. My team doesn't charge for services. All right.
Good on you, Al.
That's kind of a sticky bush for some people. So let me kind of broach that. We don't charge either, first of all. But if I live in Georgia and you're asking me to come to Florida, I'm going to ask you for gas money.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. If you're within drivable range, hour, 2 hours almost, I don't have any problem with it. But
Yeah.
if you're demanding that our team be the one to come out and do this for you, and again, you live hours upon hours away, I'm
Yeah.
going to ask you to help out.
Yeah.
The only thing we ever ask the client to ever help out with most of the time is just buy the salt. Just buy me a few containers of sea salt so I can bind the property. That's all I ask them to do. They ask me, do you guys want food? Nope. We're good. Nope. I just don't, I just didn't think that that kind of help should come with a bill. I've dealt
No.
with so many people in the past that have literally emotionally fallen apart in front of my face because of the paranormal activity. And then when they were done, I've had people tear up and cry over the fact that they um, have gotten relief. I mean, to me, that's more payment than I need. That's
Yeah.
great. You know, it's just different. It just depends on what you're doing. But that is a sticky subject. That is a sticky subject. We have a lot. We have a lot of people talking. I'm just trying to get it all settled in. Alfred said, I have a mirror that's a portal, and orbs go in and out of it all the time, but nothing negative, so I just let it be. Yeah, mirrors. Mirrors and I are not friends.
Here's the thing: when you have a portal, you can't guarantee what's going to come in and out. But yes, I understand what you're saying in the sense that so far it's been pretty benign. But just keep an eye. This is where you got to watch the subtle changes. It's not always the big bang that you're going to see. Are you starting to feel sick? Are you not waking up refreshed? Are you feeling tired all the time? Are you starting to be depressed? Are you fighting, in your house, or whoever has, lives at the location? Are you sensing differences? One of the first questions I ask any client when they're telling me that they think they have activity in their home: do you feel better when you leave your house? How do you feel? Do you feel energized? Do you feel better? Do you feel, have you gone somewhere to sleep overnight and come home? How is your sleep there versus at home?
right.
And from there, people can start to kind of figure out, oh, wow, no, yeah, you're right. I was feeling really crappy, or I've been really tired. No, I feel great leaving the house. Then something's going on. And it doesn't always have to be evil, but it can be a pain in the arse at the same time. It can still be an energy vampire that's drawing energy out of you without being evil,
Right. Yeah.
right?
And it's really hard for some people to get into a residential investigation, and I do this now religiously. If I have a residential investigation, I'll ask what the issues are, and I'll jot them all down. And when I get to the house, I will hopefully have the people involved in the activity there. And I will ask them to stay while we do a brief EVP session.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they leave, we'll do the same brief EVP session. To me, that's a fast way to find out whether or not it's them or the house. Because if the activity dwindles when they leave, that's a sign you need to look at.
Yeah.
Again, it could be an attachment on them. It could be. It could be a lot of things. But I would just tell you, make sure you can get a chance to discern what the activity is and where it's coming from before you try to attack it and try to come up with a game plan to cleanse it, because it might be wasting your time. Like we did an investigation one time, and it was one of those things where you do the cleansing, and you go, this isn't going to stick.
Yeah.
This is not going to stick. And it didn't stick. Now, Steffi says, no matter how hard I try to suppress my abilities and deny them, sometimes they smack me upside my noggin. Yes, you cannot suppress or push down or deny your abilities, because I've actually heard of it actually making people go crazy.
What makes it worse, I'll tell you that when I tell everybody I didn't grow up wanting to do this. This was not part of my plan to be this fortune teller or investigator. I mean, it was certainly something that was in my consciousness. It was something that I knew I had. It was something that I talked about and loved as a hobby. but I never thought I would make this my life. And I found that the universe made my life harder
Thank you,
until I
Mark.
embraced my abilities and then the synchronicities and the easiness started to kind of flow. So yeah, I feel like you should only go as far as you're comfortable. Just because you have abilities doesn't mean you have to be a full-time psychic medium. Doesn't mean you have to be a paranormal investigator. But I think acknowledging those abilities, trying to understand them, is going to kind of open up the doorway of communication of how you read the energy to make things kind of a little bit more calmer, believe it or not. Once you go with the flow and you start to understand and absorb the information that you're given as a conduit, it makes things a hell of a lot easier.
Right. It does. Now, Joanne's got a question I want you to throw an answer at. What stuff do you take? What stuff will take depression out of the house or darkness?
Well, okay, the first thing is you have to determine what the depression is caused from. Okay, so say you're starting to feel oppressed at home, and you notice everybody's moping, everybody's not talking, or there's just people are just not in a good state. Was there a major trigger event that occurred that has caused that? So if there was a major event that occurred, or a death, or traumatic experience, is there an anniversary that's coming up around that time? Is there, was it brought up in conversation? Was there a reason why you could essentially be changing and being depressed? Then from there, I would look up to see, have you purchased anything lately? Have you purchased anything from a consignment store, or any major, something that you got from an antique shop or a used store? And then look at if you were gifted anything that came into the property at all. Okay. Was there a tragic event that occurred, a kilometer or two away? So was there a bad accident? Was there, something like that? And then I would start to determine if it's, in fact, you bringing something home. So go a little farther from saying that there was a tragic event or there was something that happened at home. Maybe perhaps it's come for your work or your child's work or school. Once you determine that all of that is it's not happening, then you got to look within and you got to start seeing, is it something that you brought home, that you caused, that you were the portal for? Then once you you've kind of determined all that, then you start to work on heightening your vibration and trying to bring in more positive energy. So through cleansings and grounding techniques, meditation, sometimes past regressions, so past life regressions or past regressions, hypnosis, that will help to get rid of some of these things. But it's really it's a battle of the consciousness. It's knowing. That's the first step. Knowing that you're suffering from this depression and it's not a medical problem, knowing that it's not a chemical imbalance, it's not something hereditary, it is in fact something from an outside source that's causing this stuff, knowing it is the battle and trying to overcome it and heightening the vibration. So this means putting nice music on, have watching comedy television series, invite people over, have that joy in your life. That's going to help to bring up the positive energy, get rid of that depression.
Right. And Ron says declutter has been my go-to when attempting to cleanse the home. Fully agree.
Yeah, fantastic. No, decluttering is good. They often say that a person's house is like their consciousness. So if your house is scattered, your brain is scattered. If it's neat and tidy, it's neat and tidy. I mean, that's not like a set in stone type of thing, but yeah, they often say that. And so it's really important, if you're feeling scatterbrained, if you're feeling this oppression, then try to reorganize.
Yeah, I mean, it helps a lot of people too when you go in. You hear that they're arguing, and the house is absolutely a hoarder's nightmare, and yeah, that'll create some definite energy issues. Let's see. Well, Brian, it's great to see you too, buddy. All right, best to cover that particular mirror and set it in a garage or shed. Do not break in. You don't know what you're dealing with. Yeah, the mirrors, to me, again, they're a bit of a trick, because the one thing I found fascinating one time is that somebody in the hallway had a mirror facing a mirror, and that is like a carousel. Is they would just jump in mirrors. They were using them as portals and jumping in the mirrors. It was crazy. It was crazy, but it happens. Yeah. So mirrors and I are just not great friends. Let me see. Here we have.
There's so many.
Yeah. All right. So again, Nikki says knowing when to get help too. Never feel embarrassed or failure if you need to reach out. I know my limitations for sure. No shame. You're right. Pride's a big thing here in the South, in the U.S., for example. You got people that'll be ostracized from their church if they talk about the fact they got paranormal activity in their home.
Mhm.
Yeah, several beliefs down here, especially, will tell you as a person, as a congregant, that anything that appears after death is a demon. Whoa. Okay. Doesn't that make Christ a demon? Um. Yeah, I'm not even
Right.
going to go down that rabbit hole. I'm just going to let it go.
That's a whole another episode,
That's
Richard.
a whole another episode. Let me see here.
Well, Herbie says, shouldn't you first try to debunk it before you go all out? Like I
Yeah.
said, you can't accidentally summon something. Can't you accidentally summon something instead? Yes, but look at your investigation. Look at the house like an indoor and an outdoor. Okay, so when you have the entrances to a mall or entrance to a store, normally there's an in and an out. That's how you have to put it in your head. So you're only welcoming in things that you're willing to communicate with, that you're willing to help. And debunking is a good thing. It's ruling out evidence. So not only do you have to look for things, but you have to also realize that not every entity is going to jump out and say, "Hey, I'm here. Hi, I want to communicate with you." Some of them don't, especially malevolent energy. It's not, it's not like, "Oh, this is, a curtain call. It's my time." It doesn't work like that. So sometimes in the debunking process, that's when you really find out what kind of malevolent energy you're dealing with. Because you're not looking for the malevolence, you're looking for a reason as to why the incidences are occurring, right? And sometimes the word malevolence is used to generally in the sense that sometimes it's just a territorial spirit. It's not malevolent in the sense that it's evil. It just doesn't want you there, right?
Right.
So you got to respect its space too. As long as it's not trying to physically harm you. Sometimes you have to respect the space and back off a little.
Okay. So Mario said, I think if you're going into this field, you sort of have to almost be regimental with your routine of cleansing and protection. I know I'm terrible for keeping up with it, but I'm always trying to be aware of my energy or of the energy. But I feel that those that are not aware find or lapse in their own protection basically open the floodgates to hungry, lower vibrationals. Yes. Everything to me, in my experience with the paranormal, is regimented.
Mm-hmm.
I go into an investigation, we investigate a certain way. That way, there's no level of expectation of, oh God, did I forget this? Did I? Yeah, I'm almost militant when I investigate. I am boom, 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 boom. We get into a building, set up equipment, turn it all on when we're ready to investigate. Take one section of the building at a time. I mean, that way I don't feel I miss anything.
Mm-hmm.
And going around willy nilly, and to me, you're liable to miss something. So I'm very regimented when I investigate. I'm very matter of fact. I have a nickname for my team. They call me the boss. I don't know. I don't think I'm the boss. I don't know. Yeah, that and one of their nicknames for me now is the Richard Ruland. Don't ask. But anyway,
It's not a bad
yeah,
thing. It's a good thing. We're all regimented. I'm kind of on my team too. Sometimes I gotta bring them back, but we're all guilty of it. We bring each other in all the time. That's
yeah.
a good thing.
Well, it's hard. I mean, when you do events like we did the event last night, we had 25 guests. I don't like clamoring a whole bunch of people on one set of staff. So we split up in 3 different teams. But that meant I had to have a leader in each group setting.
Mm-hmm.
So at dinner before the investigation, I had to say, you're in charge. You're in charge. You're in charge. Well, I'm in charge. And it kind of puts a different mindset on things. But you also have to understand at that point, too, when you do that kind of stuff and you delegate to your team, that person needs to come up and they need to step up and be in charge. it keeps control, I think, to a point of how the energy gets dispersed, how things happen. Um, Again, I know it sounds militant, but the thing of it is, with me, there's somebody in charge. Is organization. There's no clutter. There's no, oh, I don't know, what should we do now? No, no, we have, and that way, I don't think again you ever miss anything. And I brought two people up in the ranks yesterday to lead investigators. We got two investigators in training. If you're with one of the lead investigators, they are in charge. If there's a question, you go to them. Because when people just start shooting stuff out like a shotgun, that's not getting anything done either. So again, if you formulate a team or even a good group of friends, somebody got to be in charge. Somebody gotta. That's just the way I look at it. Let me see here. Okay, so Thomas said, I always worry of something coming home with me from a garage sale or thrift store.
Amen. Funds it.
Yeah, you need to, because energy attaches like that. You don't know. Yeah, we had a buddy here. One of our regular viewers, Meg, lost her cat. Again, sorry for you.
Sorry about that, Meg. Sorry.
Alfred said that my brain's in big trouble. We've already known that, Al. Thanks. Okay, so Thomas says, why are mirrors portals for spirits / demons, etc.? My answer, my 2-cent trucker answer, and then my illustrious co-host is going to give you the Wikipedia answer, which is a lot more intelligent than mine. Things like that, glass, even old glass, because of the composition of it. For example, back in the day, mirrors were made out of silver. Okay, back in the day, glass in windows was made out of lead. So there's a fractional difference in it, and they are portals simply because of how open they are in nature. You can do psychometry on a mirror; it absorbs the energy. You got a big wooden frame around a mirror that's going to absorb energy. And as far as knowing how they know to pass through the mirrors, I want to turn that one over to my illustrious co-host.
Well, really, you're actually creating a different reality. You're creating a different dimension. You're mirroring the image. And by creating that room, they use non-3-dimensional objects. In other words, they're using that shift to come through. It's almost like a thinning of a veil. So you put two mirrors facing each other, and you're getting mirror images and mirror images. And so the time is endless. In the mirror, you see the image, and in the mirror, you see the image. And do you understand what I'm saying, people? So because of that, they're able to use that. It's a thinning of the veil. It's basically opening up a doorway, and they can travel through it.
Yeah,
I think that was a pretty trucker version.
That was you're trying to copy my trucker stuff. You can't do that kind of stuff. I'll tell you something wicked I had happen one time. You ever see the effect where you have a mirror behind a mirror behind a mirror and mirror and another image? There's a constant copy of mirrors. I actually had something move in one of the mirrors once, in about the middle of the right about in the middle of the pack of the mirror stacks in the shot, and yeah, you wouldn't talk about interdimensional.
Wow.
Yeah, that's kind of scary.
That's cool.
Yeah. Let me see. Got a bunch of stuff in here. We're already closing in on time already. My God.
I know.
I got a question. Tammy, are you coming to the Walking Horse or what? Anyway. Yeah, mirrors. Herbie said, I thought mirrors were like the eyes or the windows to the soul. Depending on how you look through them.
Yeah. Nadine says, hi, Katie and Rich, off topic a little. I've been faced with the subject of revelations and the end times all this week. Do either of you have an opinion or an answer on the subject? I'm going to let you get biblical on this one, Richard.
Biblical on what portion of Revelation are we talking about? Are we talking about that God has a book? Are we talking about, the vision to John? Which one are we talking about? Kind of curious. End of times, to me, people have been saying the end of times are near now for 50 years. We have no idea when end of times are going to happen, simply because time is not a factor on that side. It's not. It's only developed for us. So if somebody says, "Well, I'll see you in 2 years," that could be a blink of an eye on that side of the world. So as far as like the end of the day is Armageddon, all that, it's been preached about and talked about now forever. Um, again, people always say, "Oh, when the person dies, they go to heaven." No, they don't. The Bible's very clear about that. Um, there is an item of atoning and accounting for that you have to do in that process, and then nobody goes to heaven and hell till God says so in Revelation. Those that had read in the book of life were accepted by God, and the others were cast into the lake of fire. That's hell. So it's hard for me, being a former minister, preaching people. There's a large theory about preaching people to heaven. Not when you don't think it's available yet. Nope. But that's just kind of my Bible answer anyway, for what it's worth. Okay, and Tara said, if you're being sent a message in your dream, should you be able to remember it for longer after you wake up? As soon as I go to write the dream down, it fades fast. You're good with the dream.
So that's a great question, Tara. When I do readings for people, I don't remember my readings. Okay, it's not my information to read, and that's because, again, I use the word conduit, and I use it very, very, very specifically, because a conduit is something where energy flows through you. You don't keep the energy. The same thing happens with premonitions and dreams. They can be very, very vivid, but for a very short period of time. So it's important to write it down when you wake up. It's important to try to remember those things. Don't be afraid to be asked to get it again. Don't be afraid to say, I didn't understand. Can you give me another sign? Or can you show me another dream? Or the universe is going to give it to you again. It may not be identical as the dream you had, but it's going to give it different signs and symptoms so that you can kind of metabolize it and understand it. But a lot of times that's because it's the psychic energy that you're utilizing. It's not the memory, the physical memory that you're having. So, you could be doing interdimensional shifts. You could be going into having dreams. You could be having premonitions. You could be, identifying with loved ones and talking with loved ones, and all of which it's very thin. You may also start to notice that if you've forgotten your dream, you'll start to remember it during a meditation. So, it's not necessarily lost. It's just in there somewhere. And if you heighten your personal, your vibration into your higher level of consciousness, you sometimes can get that back. So don't panic, but I would encourage you, yes, to continue to write it down for sure.
Yeah, journaling is really important, I think. Personally, I think journaling is extremely important.
Yeah,
for sure. Same way you feel, Katie?
Yes, absolutely. I think journaling is something that so I used to journal quite a bit when I got into this, because I didn't know how to, funnel out the certain energies that I had. Now I find that I'm too impatient for journaling for myself. I know how to kind of do the cleansing to remove that energy that I hold. So I do it in faster methods, but I think journaling, especially your dreams, is a great thing to do. And you don't have to have a physical journal by your bed. You can put a self-talk notes in your phone, or you can, but it's really kind of getting it out on paper so that you can reference it, or digitally, but in a memory that you can turn it from a thought to a memory, and you can revisit it when you need to.
Right. It's, to me, what Katie and I even know in the paranormal world, honestly, is enough to fill a thimble in real life.
Right.
You don't know the things. I mean, I learned every single day. Here's something I learned I thought was interesting. The Civil War places that we investigate here in the South don't use the word Union soldier. Use the word federal. Federals. I actually got that from a spirit at a Civil War site. where he was basically correcting me in what they are actually called. So, just little things like that. Things like that you can learn every single day. It's kind of crazy. Um, but, to me, it's just one of those things that you have to be open minded enough to listen and learn.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people out there that, that kind of
Right.
think that they know it all. There's no way in the world you can know it all. I
No,
could
exactly.
never, with good conscience, ever know it all enough to have a ghost hunting 101 and be the person who says you are now certified as a ghost hunter.
Yeah, me neither. We're always students. We're
Nope.
always learning.
Yep. I cannot, for the life of me, um, do that kind of stuff, and nor do I want to try. Because what would happen be the first thing I would see is I'd make a mistake in telling somebody to do something, and they wound up getting in trouble for it. So I don't want that responsibility. Plus, I don't think at all I even know enough to be able to sit here after 26 years and say, "Yeah, I don't know." That's not a comfortable place to be.
No.
Not at all. Sorry,
Brian
guys. I'm
says,
just trying to
yeah.
reset my
Brian says,
camera.
FYI, you don't always have. It doesn't always have to be a mirror. Video and a video is the same portal, so that's kind of cool. So that makes sense. Brian also says, End of Days has a series of events which must transpire in exact order for the revelation to actually happen. Mario says, mirrors facing mirrors are a psychomentium. I can't say it properly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Scrying is a psychomentium. Can be very intense and a low light, but definitely never advisable if you're new to any of this. So for those of you guys that don't know what that is basically scrying. That's using a way to, it's like you're using mirrors to try to do acts of divination and to communicate with the other side and bring answers forward, whether it be past, present, future, whether it be communicating with a loved one, but it's an antenna that you can use to communicate or receive information. Mary says, honestly, I refuse to ever allow for a mirror to be in the bedroom or never one reflecting the bed's image. Sometimes you don't have that option. I am currently in a room where the mirrors are the closet doors. So, I just I've closed it off when I've entered or gone to sleep. I kind of don't allow it.
I don't like mirrors in the bedroom either. So I'm with you on that one. It's just something about it. I've done enough scrying to know I don't want that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't want that to happen.
Stephanie says, sometimes I wake myself up talking like my dream is being acted out and it's clear as day. Well, that's, sometimes again, that can be premonitions. That could be your body's screensaver. It hasn't been able to shut off and it's not always spiritual, everybody, but that is a good indication that, you've got your strong mind going. Brandy says, I have prophetic dreams. Wow. So that's when you really want to journal. That's when, if you feel like you're having spiritual dreams like that, it's important that you journal them. Alfred said it can be a past life memory as well. So it can be interdimensional travel. It can be past life regressions. It can be memories. You could be glimpses into the future of your own life. It may not even be you're in your present life. It can be future glimpses of your life or past lives, right?
That's right.
Herbie says, I've learned how to dream master my dreams, learning how to control my dreams. In other words, I've had a dream of a monster chasing me. I transform into a bigger monster. If I'm falling, I fly. It takes a while, but I've learned this. Honestly, I really don't have nightmares. That's fantastic. I would love to have a whole episode on that, on how to lucid dream that way and control it. That would be fantastic, Herbie.
I think, honestly, I would love to have that dream, personally. Really, 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 really would. Really would. Sorry, guys. I'm caught up in something I've got to handle.
Well, there's speculation that all of this is kind of like a matrix in reality, and that we're all kind of programming this way. Not in the sense that, we're sitting somewhere and we're avatars, but that we are controlling our consciousness and that we create our reality. Richard and I have talked about manifestations, and we've actually had partial shows on manifestations. I've been asked if we would do it again. I don't know if you guys are interested in hearing something like that, but yeah, absolutely. We would talk about more about manifestations, but really it's creating your reality and getting into vibrational frequencies. The same thing goes when you're doing communications, right? When you're trying to, a lot of times what we use is we use physical objects or physical visualization or something as a trigger object, not only for the entity we're trying to communicate with, but with ourselves. So, you go to a football game, you don't put a hockey jersey on, you get your football jersey on. When you go to, another scenario, when you go to, I don't know, I'm making it up, a race car, you don't have hockey equipment on. You get into the mode, you get into the moment, you own the moment when you're getting in there, your favorite team, your favorite scenario. And the same thing goes with communication, right? You want to get into the moment. So using trigger objects, but also putting your mind in frame. When I go in as a psychic medium walking into a location, sometimes I'm triggered and I'm taken back in time. When I get into a trance-like state, or if I'm starting to kind of close my eyes and zone myself into that moment, in my mind, I'm seeing what it would look like if I was in the 1800s or, the 1500s or whatever. I'm kind of witnessing it and feeling it. So when I'm, communicating and my eyes are closed and I'm asking questions, I'm feeling the dress on my skin. I'm feeling, the damp air. I'm feeling all of that stuff. That visualization is really good for that communication. I think the reason why we're able to communicate so well in dreams is because we can get into that moment, right? There's no judgment saying that, no, I'm actually stuck here. I'm actually stuck in this chair right now, but I can pretend and visualize. We actually get put into that moment. And so that's why the communication and everything becomes so real, because that matrix or that spiritual consciousness, we're brought to it.
Right.
That makes sense?
Yeah, dreams is a subject matter we could go into for hours if you got a chance to.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any final questions? We're gonna have to get ready to shut it down here in a couple of minutes. Do you guys have any final questions you want to ask? Now's the time.
Yeah. And you know what, guys? If you like what you're seeing, we ask you to like and share, please. We don't demand it. We're not pushing you. We're not trying to plug it. We're just saying if you like it and you want to share it, please share it. We appreciate it. We appreciate each and every one of you. You guys have been loyal since the beginning.
Yeah.
And so we appreciate it. And if there's a topic you want to hear about, if there's something you want to talk about, please put it in the comments or private message us. We don't even have to mention your name that it's been brought up. We get a lot of requests a lot. If there's something you'd like to learn about that we're not giving you, we have some wonderful guests on topics. If there's something you want to learn or there's something that interests you, send us a message. We'll try and get somebody on the show or somebody like of and that can educate and kind of bring knowledge to it.
Yeah. I mean, it's we don't mind going into the rabbit hole on things. It's if it needs to be talked about, let's talk about it. Damn, that's a good name for a show.
Right. Alfred says, "I'd love to hear a show just on dreams." Well, we'll do that. We'll bring something soon. We'll talk about dreams. We'll talk about interdimensional travel. We'll encompass all of that stuff.
No, Katie will. That's not really my will. But guys, yeah, no, it's we love hearing these kind of topic levels. We really do. But if you guys have anything else too, you can reach out to me. You can reach out to Katie. You can reach out to the show's Facebook page. Let's talk about it on Facebook. You can reach out there and say, hey, how about this? We don't have any problem with it. We have talked about, I think, every discussion topic known to man in paranormal. Going on 3 years.
If there isn't, then let us know. We'll bring it up.
Yeah, let us know. We'd be glad to take it on. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Different and fun. But guys, we're gonna go ahead and close up a little early. I have to be up at 5. Love ya. But guys, if you have any questions or anything, again, reach out to us once again. Let us know what's on your mind. Let us know what you want to do. And until then, guys, have a good show. Have a good night. Have a good life. See you later, guys.
Bye.